Donal, tragic and deeply shocking news.
Absolutely, Miles. Arrived just like yourselves 2 hours before the game, and the minute we arrived here at the stadium, we just got a sense that there was something seriously wrong. And unfortunately, then the news was confirmed of Anthony's tragic passing. It's there's a large Munster contingent over here for the game, and I think everybody's just taken by shock.
Some very moving scenes we've just witnessed outside the ground as well.
Yeah, I think it's typical of the Munster support. They always tend to hit the right note. It was just a gathering outside the stadium, as you say. Started off at the Fields of Athenry, which as Munster's adopted song right throughout their fight for the Heineken Cup throughout the mid-noughties, and followed, I think, even more aptly by There Is an Isle, which is the famous Shannon anthem, sung after all their successes. And not only was Anthony one of Munster's most famous sons, but also the Shannon Club, where his father Brendan and Anthony were just such a part of. So I think, as always, the Munster supporters just hitting the right note in a very moving tribute to Anthony.
When did you first meet Anthony? What are your early memories of him?
My earliest memories, I got my first cap for Munster with Brendan, his father. I got my first cap for Ireland with his father. So I remember Anthony right from those early days as a young fella running around the dressing rooms in Thomond Park. Shannon, there was a great rivalry between Shannon and Cork Conan, were my club. And Anthony, even as a young fella, was always a presence around. He was destined to be a rugby player. So, I can think of him, playing for Ireland and seeing this little figure in the corner waving an Irish flag. So to see, you obviously take an interest in somebody when you know them from such a young age, to see him progress up through the ranks with Munster, go on to get cap for Ireland, and then almost in the perfect symmetry with his dad being on that Munster team to beat the All Blacks in 1978, that he was the one to lift the Heineken Cup for the first time in 2006, and that incredible day in the Millennium Stadium was absolutely fitting.
Yes, he was right the way through the whole of the European Cup story, wasn't he? Because I think he made his debut in Munster's first ever Heineken Cup game, and then to lift the trophy in 2006. I mean, where will he sit in the grapes of Munster rugby?
Well, he's right up there at the top. I mean, himself and Paul O'Connell were the two captains to lift those Heineken Cups. I think Anthony's role was even greater in that, as you say, I was at that very first game in the Heineken Cup. It was Munster against Swansea on a Wednesday afternoon in Thomond Park. I think there was about 5,000 or 6,000 people there. Anthony was part of that team. From what I can remember, I think he was dropped once against Harlequins away at the Stoop, and that was the only game that he missed in the entire campaign from 1995 to when Munster reached the Holy Grail and finally lifted that trophy in 2006. So he's, I think, one of the, I stand correct, but I think he's probably the top try-scoring forward in the Heineken Cup. I was part of a group that selected the best 15 of the first 15 years of the Heineken Cup. He was number 8 on that side, and when you consider you had great players like Lawrence Delalio fighting for that number 8 jersey, I think the fact that Anthony was selected on that team unanimously by everyone around the table just shows what an integral part he was of not only Munster's journey, but of the Heineken Cup as it was, the Champions Cup as it is now.
Yes, Donal, Anthony Foley involved in arguably the happiest day in Munster rugby in 2006, and now arguably the saddest. Thank you very much for those words. Thank you.
Thanks, Miles. Thank you.